And I think it is fair because, again, Chair, you said that 37 teachers, which is true, is what we have in our records of teachers who have died in the last 10 years in that area, which is a big number. Even one teacher is a big number. But it's not just teachers. We have also lost security officers. Many more security officers have lost their lives in the last 10 years. In fact, in the last 2.5 months, we have lost 30 security officers in that region, including National Police Service officers, Kenya Defence Force officers, and some of our elite formed units in the National Police Service who have died in the line of duty in that general area. In 2.5 months, nearly 30, about 20, actually 29. Now the 37 teachers is over 10 years. The security officers' statistics is the last 2.5 months. So I think that should be contextualized that way. And then you also asked, Chair, other professionals. We haven't had many other segments of society affected by this problem, except road workers, engineers. We have lost a few engineers. I think this year we have lost like four engineers who are road engineers in that Ijara corridor, Garissa, Lamu, Garissa, Isiolo corridor. We've lost some engineers. We also lost early in the year, I think around January, 5 other Kenyans who included 3 hydrologists who are actually digging boreholes near the border of Kenya-Somalia border. So mainly it is contractors who have been affected, and then the teachers. We are not yet, we have not registered the death of other segments of society. Then, if we remove the non-local teachers, I want to agree with the sentiments. I think the building of the local communities to generate their own teaching fraternity or teaching force should be a natural process to empower that community. It should not be driven by the fact that teachers from elsewhere are being attacked. That would be a very dangerous policy, because you're ceding ground to terrorists and telling them because you're killing these people, we remove them from there. So I want to support the member who said that should not be policy. It cannot be our policy as government, as a country. Those teachers should stay there as long as it is possible. But in the normal order of empowering our communities and every part of our country to have its own workforce, that process can proceed on those lines. Then the other issue was why Ethiopia has had less attacks. Again, you know, the way terror works. Terror is not scientific. You know, is deliberate. And I think the member who spoke about this terrorist having an agenda against our country spoke to it. That the grievances that perhaps the terrorists have are more on our side, on our part as Kenya than other countries. And that's why perhaps we have received a little more brand than our neighboring countries. Going forward, Chair, I want to assure members that just as we have had other problems and they have come and gone, we will get this problem done. I must also say that the recent wave of attacks will be contained once the modernization program of our equipment gets underway, and we've made some very good progress, and that's why I'm very hopeful in the coming weeks, because we are modernizing a number of our equipment, our capabilities in that region. That, together with community-led, government-organized onslaught against these militias, should set that region free in the coming weeks and months. If I've left out anything, you will let me know. Chair, I am aware also, I think there's a member who asked whether we are aware some of the areas are so remote, there are no security agencies even to report crime to. It is true. Of course, there are unique developmental and structural and systemic long-term problems in northern Kenya compared to other parts of the country. And those are the hard questions we must ask ourselves if we have to get security right in that region, so that we achieve the same standard of security as we have in other parts of the country. Then we must open that area to development, build roads, build water facilities, electricity, mobile connectivity, which is reasonable enough. Otherwise, it is not enough to secure a large area. And for the benefit of members, some of those areas, some of those locations are the size of sub-counties, if not more. And it's not possible to police those areas without the infrastructural support. The other challenge we have again is that, as I have said, these unique challenges require more of the elite formations of our police personnel than the general policing personnel, because the weapons the militants use are sophisticated, the tactics are sophisticated, and therefore we are investing more in the formed units. And going forward, we as a policy will be reducing in that area and the similarly situated areas, so that we put more specialized units that are able to deal with sophisticated crimes and sophisticated threats to security. We have more personnel of that type as opposed to general duty police, which we can reserve for areas that do not have as complicated threats as northern Kenya. Then there was the issue of telephone masts. We are engaging the MNOs to make sure that they support us with communications. We've had some damages, especially I think last month we got one major mast which is quite significant in that area. Prior to the latest attack, that mast was attacked. It was guarded by NPRs, but I think the terrorists managed to overpower our NPRs, and that mast is being repaired, and we are asking the MNOs to support us, and also the Universal Service Fund through the Communications Authority, to make sure that we increase our mobile telephone network in that general area, to make sure that we expand our communications capabilities and match it with the current threats.
Are you through, Waziri?
Yes.
So we'll come for the second and last round of questions. I'll start with the Honorable Morero, Honorable Kisairo. You introduce yourself before you, Honorable Ann and Honorable Maungu. This time a question, not a presentation. Thank you, yes. Honorable Morero.
Mimi naitwa Mwalimu Morero, mbunge wa Kibra. Bwana CS, our colleagues tell us that Mandera is 60% controlled by Al-Shabaab. Are you aware of this, and what are you doing? Two, I have seen that the last 1 week you deployed brutal force to deal with innocent demonstrators. If you can use this brutal force along the borders Don't you think you can stop these Al-Shabaabs? Now, 3, is it such a coincidence that all heads of security apparatus in this country come from northern Kenya? And why have they failed to deal with the Al-Shabaabs? You have just said that you have stopped the opening of the border. That is theoretical. The border is not stopped, it is opened. And that is why we have Al-Shabaabs in this country. Why can't you advise the relevant authorities that this border should not be opened? Now, you have also said you are forming you have formed units which are scaled. You are saying you are going to form. This country is one of the countries, and we are highly ranked that we have special units. Now, why can't you use these special units to deal with the sophisticated Al-Shabaabs instead of using the special units to look for an armed people in this country? Now, lastly...
Order, Honorable Morero. Honorable Morero, you need to indicate who are unarmed and who have been looked upon.
The demonstrators like us.
You need to be... yes.
Is it in order
Yes.
to make security issues that are very pertinent to this country with the issues of demonstrations, where we end demonstrators armed against Article 37 of the Constitution that talks about peaceful demonstrations?
Yes, and I think, Orero, you need to know 37 teachers and more unreported have died. So we don't need to trivialize this with demonstrations. We know demonstrations are there, but we are talking about a very serious issue, and you introduce yourself as a teacher. So kindly address this issue of teachers, and I hope teachers are watching at you.
That is what I am saying, because it is the Al-Shabaabs attacking the teachers. In fact, when I was a teacher, I was being transferred to Northeast and I almost resigned. Because they have failed to protect the teachers in that area.
Chair.
Because of, please protect me, the chair. He will have his time. I know he was in NUT, I was also a member of the
union. Order members. Honorable Borero, stick to the questions so that we proceed. Order, Honorable Nataitumo.
Okay, please protect me. And now, Buenos CS, when I look at your recommendation, you have used the term the TSC should. We want to be given timelines that the TSC must transfer the non-locals from Northeastern because of their lives. We cannot continue losing lives for teachers, yet the TSC will still drag their feet from transferring these teachers. We must have timelines. You must talk to the CEO of this TSC, and we must know when these teachers are going to be transferred. Thank you.
Yes. 2 questions, members, so that because of time, Honorable Gisairo, only 2.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Clive Gisairo, Member of Parliament, Kitutu Masaba. Bwana CS, looking at your recommendation, we can feel there's a sense of hopelessness coming from your end. You've mentioned things like flight tickets. How many airports do you have in Northeastern? What's the distance from between the nearest school to the farthest airport? Because that is not a solution. They're being killed in Northeastern, so they can also be killed between the school and the airport. You've mentioned about pooling of teachers in one location. In your report, teachers are being killed in police station. So what is it that you're doing different while you pull them that they will be safer? Another one is resolving. You've said you'll resolve the insecurity in northern Kenya permanently. Bwana CS, all of us have around 5 years in office, be it elected or you as a CS. What is the timeline? We have 4 years to go. Are you planning to achieve this? Or will the government achieve this within this term? Or what is the probable timelines? And lastly, we've seen how many teachers have been killed. You are able to say whether it's attackers, some cases you've stated to be Al-Shabaab. How are you able to disseminate that these are Al-Shabaab and these are just local attackers who have their own issues against non-local teachers? How many have you brought to book? Or is there is your ministry just taking statistics? How many of the attackers have been brought to book as of today? Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Marada.
Ann Moratha is my name, the County Member of Parliament, Kiambu. I possibly would just want to ask the CS just one question, whether this issue has a political goodwill from the politicians. Because from the look of it, when you look at a majority of our people in the security in national government are from that region. And the other thing, we also have leaders, politicians that are elected in those counties. Now, what I'm asking myself is there a time when these people sit together? Because today, I live in Roiro, and if you ask me something about Gatuanyaga, which is the farthest end of Kiambu, I'll only need to go to the ground, and I will tell you what is happening. Those things that Kenyans call mambo kwa ground ni tofauti. I'm assuming the politicians in these areas know what is happening. Bwana CS, I would only want to ask, is there goodwill from our politicians and our leaders who are majority in the security team in this country are from that region? Are we seeing a foreplay in the security area, even in our people, having a majority of them in security and having a number of them in Parliament and in the Senate? Yet we are looking very helpless, and we are with them around here. What are they telling us? Because they know mambo kwa ground ni tofauti na vile tunaona.
Thank you. Honorable Maungu.
Thank you so much, Chair. Bwana CS, thank you for your presentation. I think, to me, this must be the second horrifying statement that you've read in the recent past, apart from the Shakahola cases that we heard of recent. The life of teachers, from what you've just presented, is at risk. And sad to note that this has been the case for the last 10 years or so. You know, we may not be able to do the same thing the same way and expect to have different results. For the last 10 years, your predecessor was always loud that these are the strategies they applied. And to that extent, nothing much was achieved. You've taken up with a lot of motivation, but your presentation this morning appears to be someone who is almost losing hope with the kind of exposure you are getting out there. My question is, what is it that you intend to do different, apart from what you've given us? Because what I'm seeing here is what your predecessor used to declare, and boldly so, that will make this country safer. Teachers in Northeastern they are living in trauma. I can imagine that a teacher, after having taught through the day, will need to hide somewhere for the night or for the evening so as to appear tomorrow morning in a class and teach our kids. I tend to imagine that there's more to it than we know. Just to agree with the Honorable Member for Kiambu, the local leadership. In Rwanda, where I come from, in areas, we are in a safe area, yes. But nothing can happen without the local leadership, the local village elders, or the Nyumba Kumi knowing what is it that is happening. But it appears that Northeastern is such a different area because the local leadership seems not to know, or they are playing as if not to know. What has your ministry done to ensure that this leadership, right from the Nyumba Kumi all to the county governor and what have you, have been brought on board to ensure that these deaths and the trauma and the exposure given to our teachers is actually taken care of? Secondly, someone said, Bwana CS, that if it looks like a duck, it walks like a duck, and quacks like one, then it is one. We need to hear more from the leadership of that area about the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Waziri, you can answer those questions. You have a question?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, I have my
Only 2 questions. Abdul?
I will ask just 2 questions.
Yes, specific and straight away.
Waziri, you talked about the specialized units that we need to come up with to deal with this security issue. And I know the government had established the CIPU, the Critical Infrastructure Police Unit. Is it possible to establish a specific police unit whose mandate is just to protect our schools and teachers? Or if that's not possible, is it possible to give the teachers in secure areas licensed guns so that they can protect themselves at the hour of need. Finally, you talked about the MNOs and the discussions you're having in terms of ensuring that the telephone masts that help in connectivity are not pulled down. As yesterday, the mast you talked about that the NPS tried to protect, but they were overpowered and damaged a little bit. The Safaricom had sent the engineer there to pull it down and take it away instead of repairing it to. So your answer is that they are trying to repair it, but the information we have as from yesterday is they are pulling it away. And they did the same to another area called Bohol 11 when an incident happened about 2 years ago. So that's a matter I think that needs, because if we do this, Al-Shabaab attacks, we either pull out our police or we pull